Well, the tweet came out last night. Tulsi Gabbard has decided that regardless of what the polls may say before the December 19th debate, she's not going to be in it. Now, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Well, honestly, I made the comments a little while back that perhaps maybe it was time for her to do her own thing, okay? Michael Bloomberg, even though you could say the difference here, he's pumping just a lot of money into his campaign and that these polls could be complete BS anyway. According to current DNC rule, he can't even participate in the debates. Okay, because he's not going to have the individual donor mark because he claims he's funding himself completely. Okay. Now, let's just take a look at Tulsi's tweet here real quick. And we'll read over it, and then I'll elaborate on what are my thoughts on this strategy. So let's take a look. So Tulsi tweeted out, "For a number of reasons, I have decided not to attend the December 19th debate." And notice she put, in quotation marks, debate. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. "Regardless of whether or not there are qualifying polls, I instead choose to spend that precious time directly meeting with and hearing from the people of New Hampshire and South Carolina." My good old home state there, okay? So obviously most of you, if you've been following Tulsi Gabbard, you know she's really been focusing in on New Hampshire lately. Matter of fact, I believe she's even rented a home in New Hampshire, so she's there on a regular basis. She's not having to fly constantly in from Hawaii, to go out and about. So, and obviously it's a much shorter trip, I guess from New Hampshire down here to South Carolina than it is from Hawaii to South Carolina as well. So she's basically saying she wants to focus a lot of her time, in particularly these two states. Now, right now, she's still doing fairly well in South Carolina, but Joe Biden, according to a recent YouGov poll in South Carolina, Joe Biden is way on up the field here, okay, in South Carolina, and Pete Buttigieg is doing pretty well, supposedly according to this poll as well. Let me just say, and I made this comment on when the Radical Independent tweeted this out yesterday. As a South Carolinian, if that's true, I'm ashamed. I really am. This state that overwhelmingly went for Donald Trump in the primaries last time around should have a far better head on their shoulders when they wanted change the last time than to be going for Joe Biden. Yeah, okay, that's absolutely horrendous if that turns out to be true. So, if Joe Biden or a Pete Buttigieg win this state and it's not a Yang, a Sanders, or a Tulsi Gabbard, I'm going to, be walking around none too happy with my fellow South Carolinians who went out to vote that day. Now, to be fair, everyone's got their right to vote. Vote for who you want to. I'm just going to have some serious disagreements with you and question your sanity if you really believe that somebody like Joe Biden, old Gaff Joe over here, or, bought Pete, because this guy's taking all this billionaire money and yeah, what was it, a press conference he just gave a few days ago or something where they were wanting to know when's he gonna let the press into his private fundraising events, and he pretty much was like, yeah, maybe at some point in the future. There's stuff going on that can't really elaborate on, or no, how did he put it, considerations or something like that. And they asked, well, can you give us an example of those? No. So this guy is a bought piece of work too, just like Joe Biden. And if that's what they think is going to bring real change and do something for the American people, and you haven't learned from the history that we've been watching over I guess more than 20 years, probably 20 to 50 years, I guess at this point, that the people who take all that big billionaire money won't bring you change, The only change you will see, if they bring change, is change in favor of the billionaires who paid to get them elected to office. That's the only thing you're going to get out of them. That's the only change you're ever going to get out of them. And that's not change for a blue-collar state like South Carolina. We will get pretty much dumped on and crapped on by people like Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg, okay? So that being said, I guess we'll just see what happens. But Tulsi Gabbard's strategy to not go, and remember, as she put in quotation marks, the debate, okay? Now, I said, after she did another town hall a while back in New Hampshire, there was a lady in the crowd, when it came time for questions, that asked her, could she do some form of a debate with Joe Rogan as the moderator, perhaps, and it would be like her, Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang, and Bernie Sanders. A lot of people, still lump Elizabeth Warren in with Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not, and I'll be making another video about that later from some recent comments that Elizabeth Warren made, and that might help you understand a little more. Okay, for those of you who still are teetering on the fence when it comes to Elizabeth Warren, maybe. But pretty much I said then, because Tulsi went on to explain, the DNC says that you can't do that. And they instituted that rule in the 2015 primary, again, when Hillary Clinton was going to be running. So anyone who ran against her wasn't going to be able, like if they just basically made it the Clinton show, to go do their own or whatever, because they say if you do that, you can't come back to these. Okay, and those, of course, are going to be the ones on main television unless you're some wealthy billionaire and can buy your own TV time. So that being said, I said, well, there's a couple ways you can look at this. You can say, one, okay, my hands are tied. If I want to be part of these debates, these honest debates where everyone's supposed to have equal time, then I have to play by their rules. But there's just one problem there. You're not getting equal time. Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang have most certainly been recipients of getting screwed over when it comes to how much time they are allowed to speak and make their points in these debates. A lot of that time was going to Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, or Joe Biden. They got far, or even Cory Booker, okay? They got far more opportunity to really get their message across. Even Amy Klobuchar as well, okay? So they were the recipients of who got the majority of the time to speak. Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang got shafted. There's no doubt about that. And so realistically, if that's all that's going to happen in these debates, and they're just going to screw you over anyway, some may say your presence need to be there so we can see you. Others may say if you're there and you're not talking, other people are. To the people who aren't policy hawks and just go off of appearance alone, it looks like you're weak and they're strong, and that's why they tend to favor them over you, because they don't really hear from you. They hear a lot from them, and then they don't add the math. They just look at what's in front of them. They don't add 2 and 2 and figure out that equals 4, and that is that they're trying to silence you. They look at that picture and say, well, you must not be too smart because you didn't get much time to speak, and these people controlled the stage over here, so you're some weak, cuck candidate. We don't want you because they don't know anything about you. Keep in mind to all the Tulsi supporters out there, okay? You can't go off the presumption that everyone knows what sort of a fighter that Tulsi Gabbard is. My own mother, up until a little over a week ago, had not one clue who Tulsi Gabbard was. Okay, now my mother was a big Bernie Sanders supporter back in the 2015 primaries, okay? And she has been talking about Bernie this cycle as well. She wanted to vote for Bernie. She wanted Bernie. And I kept telling her, I was like, I'm not going to jump behind him, and obviously I've explained my issue with Hillary Clinton and all that. She's like, well, he's still a good choice, blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. But finally she sent me a link, something comparing him to FDR, okay? Sent to me a little over a week ago, and I just responded back. I said, I would still rather have Tulsi Gabbard, because that's like the first time I think I've ever actually mentioned Tulsi Gabbard to her. She doesn't usually get on here and watch a lot of these videos. So, but when I sent that back to her, I got one message in response, and that is, who is that? She had no clue who Tulsi Gabbard was. Okay? Had never heard of her before. But then I sent her some links to some of these videos, and she actually got on and watched them. And when she did, First, she wanted to know how could she end up subscribing. She's not exactly huge tech whiz over here. So I told her, I said, well, when we get together again, I'll help you out with that. The next thing was, I could see myself voting for her. So now, instead of being for Bernie, she jumped on to Tulsi's support team, okay? And that all comes back to the fact there was actually someone else that she really wanted to vote for, who I was really supportive of, and he was in and out of the race like a bolt of lightning, and that was Richard Ojeda, okay? Because if you really break down Richard Ojeda's talking points that he wanted to run on, they're not all that different than what Tulsi Gabbard's are. I think Richard Ojeda, if anything, would have been more of a charismatic attack force on the debate stage than we've seen. Tulsi is a big counterpuncher. She's not, as somebody said last night when I said she needs to turn up the heat, she's a counterpuncher. She's not, she doesn't go out and take it on, headstrong, okay? And unfortunately, I feel like in a field where she's currently getting screwed by the DNC. She's being slandered by people on the stage and the DNC, and they're starting to rig this whole process again. If you're waiting on some personal attack to come out of their mouth before you counterpunch, you're missing the opportunity. They're already rigging it against you. You have every right to be counterpunching right now. You need to take advantage of it because that's the only thing that's going to start taking them out the knees. And you've shown you can do it. You need to keep doing it. I don't think Richard Ojeda would have had a problem with that. Because Richard Ojeda, while he came across as a very nice guy, it seemed like he had no qualms about getting down into the pit and getting into, getting a little mud on him if he needed to win that match. Okay. So I think he would have done great, but he realized something very early on, and that is they were going to be rigging it against him as well. And then he just dropped out of it. He didn't even pursue it. Okay. Which I regret he did, and I wish he hadn't. But nonetheless, the overall point here is they're definitely trying to, rig this against them. So in Tulsi's case, one could look at this a couple of ways. If she could get just a handful of people on board with her, I think this would have a much better chance of success if they were just going out and doing their own debates. Say the news crew. And remember, they've already lost a lot of numbers in the last debate. Now, if this turns out to be an all-white debate, Andrew Yang is on the bubble, so if he makes it, it won't be officially an all-white white person debate anymore. But if this turns out to be nothing but an all-white debate, now that Kamala Harris is gone and there's no one of color on that stage anymore, you can't tell me that this thing is going to draw very good numbers. This thing is going to bomb out to no end, okay? It will turn out to be absolutely horrible, okay? And with that being said, if she can pull, Andrew Yang, or Bernie Sanders or whomever, okay, and to do this with her, because Andrew Yang's definitely getting screwed here too, okay? Now, somehow, I have a feeling you're not going to get Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren on this bandwagon. They're doing too well, and even though there's this, people are saying, they're trying to silence Bernie, I won't deny that. It's definitely not hitting them as hard as it's hitting Tulsi and it's hitting Andrew Yang, okay? They're literally pretending that Tulsi Gabbard doesn't exist in many cases here, okay? And they've done that once before with Andrew Yang as well a few months ago. So they're definitely getting hit a lot harder than Bernie Sanders is. So considering everybody, thinks Bernie's the hero, my problem with that is Bernie Sanders, even when he has spoke up in defense of Tulsi Gabbard, when, the whole, when she wasn't going to make that last round of debates and everything, and they were asking about it on The View, did he come out and clearly call out the DNC? Did he call out that corruption? No. He did just like he did when it came to Julian Assange, and just like when it came to Democrat talking points, he towed the party line. He kind of tiptoed around a defense of Tulsi Gabbard, but he was not very clear, he was not to the point, and he was not precise. So when it comes to this, he's going to continue to play ball by their rules because, again, in my opinion, he's full of good talking points, but when the rubber meets the road, he has started to cuck out to the Democrats on more and more occasions, because I think in his mind, he knows for him to have any sort of a chance, He's got to play ball by their rules. And the problem with that, as I've said before, I'll say it again, is once you start playing ball by their rules, where does the red line in the sand get drawn here? Because if you're already playing ball by their rules, they're going to expect you to keep playing ball by their rules if you win that presidency. And then if you don't play ball by their rules, what do you think they're going to do to you? Look at this whole impeachment thing right now that's going on against President Trump. Nancy Pelosi literally just said on CNN that a president who lied us into a war resulting in the deaths of many, many, many civilians, okay, again, lied us into the war on top of that, okay, and hid torture, covered up torture, all the things that the Bush and Cheney administration did, those were not impeachable offenses. But having a phone call with a foreign leader and then reading his stuff a certain way, people say that he did. People say that Zelensky brought up Joe Biden, the whole 9 yards. But the accusation on this is that he basically held up foreign aid for dirt on his political opponent. And they still just completely look over the fact that Joe Biden was going to hold up foreign aid if the Ukrainian president did not fire the prosecutor that was going to be looking into the gas company his son got on the board of. Okay? So there's clearly a double standard there, and if that's an impeachable offense, then Joe Biden should never even be able to take office. Because look what he did, okay? And so now they're running this impeachment inquiry. So basically, what's the implication here? Lying us into a war, causing the innocent deaths of many people, that's not an impeachable offense. But trying to get dirt on one of our own, we will kick your ass out if we possibly can over that one. You best mark my words. If you try and take out one of our inner circle, we're coming at you with pitchforks and daggers. Okay? That's basically what they've come across and said here at this point. So it's a very rigged system. And I said before, honestly, it may not be a bad thing. Maybe when they have a debate, maybe Tulsi goes on, Jimmy Dore's show or, Joe Rogan's show or someone, and they watch the debate live stream, and she can give reaction to what they're saying in live time, perhaps, if she's not going to be able to make these debates. Maybe that's what she needs to do, okay? But if she goes to the debates, while some are going to argue that it's beneficial for her to go and be made present, there's a double-edged sword there. You are on the stage so people know that you're still in the race. The people who don't get on the internet a lot, they're going to know you're still running. But if you're not able to talk, it makes you end up looking weaker at the end of the day. That's the negative side, and they really don't still learn much about you. And the fact that they really limit how much she's able to speak, I think that cripples her as well. So she's in a bit of a conundrum here, okay? I feel like, if she does this, there's going to be a lot more people trying to tune into that because they'll be able to watch the debate live time and hear her reaction. So that I think that's the way for her to go, honestly. Because honestly, if she keeps playing by their rules, they're going to give her minimal talking time anyway, and it's really not going to do very much for her. So I think that genuinely this is the route to take, especially skipping this next debate. You got the Iowa caucus coming up early February. I think that, while she's talking about taking the time to talk to people, I think that what she really should do for this next debate is definitely come down, talk to some South Carolinians, spend that time with them. But in the meantime, fly out to, California, hop on Rogan or hop on Jimmy Dore and watch that debate and give your reaction live time. People will be able to listen to the debate and listen to you at the same time, and you'll get much more talking time to get your points across than you would if you were even on that debate stage, and people will be able to hear your message even more. And if you choose to do something like that, it's up to people like myself and other people who want to see Tulsi do better, because we certainly don't want one of these corporate nominees to be the Democratic nominee and running in 2020, okay? It's up to people who want to promote the truth. This channel will definitely be doing it to get that message out there to let people know, hey, just so you know, when the debate comes next time around, if you really want to hear some honest, take on this, don't watch it on television. Go on YouTube and watch the live stream on whoever's channel. she may pick to do this song, because I hope she does. If she doesn't, she doesn't. But I think that's really the way to go, because especially if there's no one else in the room, it's just her doing the debate reaction. I think that would be golden. I think it gives her a much better opportunity to get her voice heard and react in live time to what they're saying on those debate stages and give her counter arguments to them. I think that's the way to go, and we'll see what happens.